We continue our championship case videos series with the defending champion Chase Elliott. He won the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series championship, and this year he is looking to defend that title. He currently sits fourth on the playoff grid. He has 2 wins at Road America and Circuit of the Americas. He has 11 top 5s, 15 top 10s on the season. Yeah, he's had a pretty solid season. He's been pretty consistent this season for the most part. He has had some times where he struggled, had some bad races, but overall he has had a really good season. Not as good as his teammate Kyle Larson, obviously, but a pretty good season. And he has been a part of that Hendrick Motorsports kind of revamp, that new energy, that young energy that Hendrick Motorsports has had this year that they haven't had in the past few years. Kind of got started last year after the championship run, but let's talk about him and his chances to win the championship and look at this schedule. Last year, before the season started, Chase Elliott was my championship pick, and this is why. The playoff schedule fit him well. The tracks that were in the playoffs fit him well, and this could be very similar argument as last year. He currently has, 18 playoff points right now? So just like I said with Truex, just like I said with Kyle Busch, he is going to need to add up those playoff points because the playoff points are important, and there is no such thing as too many playoff points, as we learned last year with Kevin Harvick. So instead of going on a long thing about playoff points, I'm just going to say he needs to get as many playoff points as possible, whether that's stage wins, whatever it may be. This first round, I'm not concerned about. Just like the first 3, I'm not concerned about this. Darlington has been a good track for him recently. He got a top 10 in the spring. He competed for the win in the Southern 500 last year before getting in a late crash. The spring of 2020, he was in second place when he got wrecked out. So he has had good runs at Darlington. He knows how to get it together. He knows how to run well there. I'm not concerned. Richmond is not his strongest track. It's not his best track, but he does have a couple top 5s. He has a runner-up finish there. So I'm not too concerned there. Even if he has a poor run, he's got enough of an advantage that he'll gain from Darlington and then Bristol. Bristol has been really good to Chase Elliott in his career. Won the All-Star race at Bristol and also has a few top 5s, top 10s. He's led a lot of laps, won a lot of stages. So Bristol is a really strong track for Chase Elliott, and he has done better at the 750 tracks than he has at the 550 tracks, I would say. Road courses are his best tracks, obviously, but he's also run good at some of the short tracks. He led some laps at New Hampshire earlier this year, got a top 5 at Martinsville earlier this year. Of course, won a couple races late in last season with the 550 package at Martinsville, or the 750 package at Martinsville and Phoenix as well. But that first round, I am not too concerned. Darlington, he's run well enough there that he can get enough points in that race to kind of give him a buffer. Even if he has a poor Richmond race, I think he can extend any type of gap that he has at Bristol. So that first round, I'm not concerned about. The second round, this is an interesting one. Las Vegas has been very hit or miss for Chase Elliott. He's led a bunch of laps there. He's won some stages there. He's gotten a few top 5s, but there's no really in between. He either gets a top 5 while leading laps and competing for the win, or he crashes in an odd, peculiar way, or gets shuffled back in a late race restart and finishes 25th or worse. Look at 2020, for example. In the spring race, he swept the opening 2 stages, led over 70 laps, but had a tire blow after a pit stop in an odd situation, and he finishes like 30th. In the fall race, he was top 5. He led a bunch of laps in that race, won a stage in that race, was in the top 5 competing for the win all day, and then all of a sudden in a late race restart, gets shuffled back to 25th. So it's really hit or miss for Chase Elliott. Those are 2 examples of misses, but it's just hit or miss. So you gotta hit there. You gotta do good there. You gotta do what you did in the 2019 fall race, which was finished, I think they finished 3rd or 4th in that race. Get stage points and do well enough, because the next one is Talladega. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how good you are. Talladega can take you out in an instant and put you in a points deficit. Now, I will say Elliott has had better luck recently compared to the 3 in front of him. Which is Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. We talked about in all 3 of those videos how bad their luck is at Talladega. Elliott has had better luck. He got a top 5 in this race last year. He didn't do so well in the spring. He got caught up in a couple of incidents, but a top 5 in this race last year. He led a ton of laps last year in this race. He won in 2019. I think in the 2019 fall race, he got a top 10. So he has been much better at Talladega than he has done at Daytona. So if you want to see a plate race in the playoffs, if you're Chase Elliott, you would much rather see Talladega. Their luck seems to be much better at Talladega, but still, Talladega is such a wild card. So much chaos happens there. Anything could happen. Next is the Charlotte Roval. Do we really have to go over this one? I mean, he's going to be heavily favored to win this race. He's won the last 2 events there. I think he's gotten a top 5 in every race at the Roval, which is 3 of them. So even when he didn't win that first race, he finished in the top 5. We all know Elliott's success on road courses. Both of his wins are at road courses this year. He's got a runner-up at Watkins Glen, a runner-up at Sonoma. If it wasn't for a rain caution at Daytona, the road course, he might have another win or top 2 finish there. Elliott has been absolutely insane on the road courses, not just this year, but the past 3 years. 2019, he won Watkins Glen in the Roval. 2020, he swept the road courses. He won at the Daytona road course. He won at the Charlotte Roval. And, of course, this year he won at Circuit of the Americas and at Road America. So, Elliott's been so good on the road courses. I don't even need to go over that anymore. Even if he's in a deficit, like, that is the race he wants to be, the cutoff race, because he's going to be heavily favored. They're going to be the best team there, so he should get out of the second round pretty good because the Roval is there. The third round, though, there's concern here, I would say. Texas is, ever since the repave, Texas has been Chase Elliott's worst track. He did well in the All-Star race this year. There was a different package slightly. I think there was a little bit less horsepower, but Elliott's never excelled at Texas Motor Speedway since the repave. I think he only has a couple of top 10s. Last year, he finished outside of the top 20. Their luck is bad there. The car isn't ever set up right there. It seems like they are just bad at Texas. So that being the opening for the round of 8 is going to put them in a deficit most likely because they just can't run well at Texas. I don't know why they can't run well at Texas, but they can't. Maybe the All-Star race earlier this year was a sign of a good thing to happen. Maybe it was a sign that maybe they can get it together at Texas, but I just don't have confidence in them at Texas. They've struggled at Texas so much in the past that I have no confidence in them there. But then they go on to Kansas, and Kansas is a track that has been good for Elliott. He got a top 5 there in the spring this year. He's got a win at Kansas. That was with the 750 package, though, back in 2018. But he has had some good runs at Kansas with the 550 package. A runner-up finish in this race in 2019. Obviously, as I said, in the spring, he got a top 5. So he has done well. 550 package for Elliott isn't their best, but they have actually done pretty decent with it this year. Led a ton of laps at Michigan, won a stage at Michigan. They finished runner-up in the Coca-Cola 600. They got a top 5 at Kansas. So 550 may not be their bright spot, but at a track that they are good at, they could potentially go out and compete for a top 5 or even a win. So Kansas, I don't think they can if they don't get a bunch of playoff points in the opening 2 rounds, then potentially, they could be in a bit of a hole going into Kansas, but I don't think it could be difficult for them to make up that gap if they have a terrible Texas race. It could be a must-win. The playoff points are going to be so close at this point that, winning is obviously the best option, but who knows? So Kansas, I would say, is much better than Texas for them. I expect them to run top 5, maybe top 10 in that race, but it's going to be hard to make up any deficit from Texas that they have because I just don't expect them to run well at Texas. But Martinsville is the closing race, and they have run extremely well at Martinsville in the past couple of years. A top 3 finish in the spring, a top 5 finish or a win actually last fall, and then I think they got a top 5 in the spring race last year. So the last 3 trips to Martinsville, they have gotten top 5 finishes. They've been really good at Martinsville, led a ton of laps. So once again, just like with the Roval, that is the track they want to be the champ or the elimination race before the Final Four because they have been so good there. They have led so many laps that if they're in a deficit points-wise, if it's like a 10 to 20 point gap, maybe they can turn it around and close it in, get a bunch of stage points, maybe close the gap on whoever's in front of them. But with the round of 8 being the 8 best drivers in NASCAR, it could be difficult to close a 20-point gap or maybe even a 10-point gap, but it could be a must-win, but they could get it done. And then Phoenix, the championship race. Elliott, obviously the defending champion. The first time the championship was ever hosted at Phoenix, he won. So that's got to give them a lot of confidence. Like I talked about with Kyle Busch yesterday, and I forgot to mention it, but also with Martin Truex Jr., is that Elliott has experience winning in this format. This format has produced a lot of new champions. It has produced a lot of chaos and drama in this last race. Guys, you know, slip under the pressure, something crazy happens on a late race restart, whatever it may be. This format was built to make chaos, basically. But Elliott has been really good at Phoenix recently. It seems like he's got top 5s, top 10s, and then obviously last year they really dominated that race despite starting at the back, so that's got to give them a ton of confidence. The thing that he doesn't have going for him is that there's only been one repeat champion in this format, and there has never been a repeat champion in consecutive years. Kyle Busch's repeat was in 2015, was his first, 2019 was his second, so there's never been a back-to-back champion in this format. Elliott looking to become the first one. He has a solid shot, but he is going to have tough competition, and then obviously with this format, you could blow a tire on lap 1 and finish 4th in the points, but that is it. In conclusion, to kind of wrap up this video, first round, he should be good. Second round, with Talladega, it's such a toss-up, but you know what? I think he's got the Roval there that he's going to be good enough. The third round, Texas concerns me a lot. They have never been good at Texas, so if they can just put together a decent run there, then Kansas and Martinsville, I think they can make up those points and even win at Martinsville probably to make it to the Championship 4. Championship 4 is at Phoenix, where they won last year, where they have won a championship, won a race in this package, in this format, in the same high-stakes pressure situation. So I think they could potentially get it done again. It's going to be tough, just like I said earlier, when you've got your teammate Kyle Larson, who's dominated everywhere this year. You've got the Joe Gibbs guys like Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, and so many other guys that have done so well this year. So it's going to be difficult for Elliott, but he's got a shot to get it done back-to-back. It's yet to happen in this format. It's got to happen at some point, I guess. But yeah, thanks for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Tomorrow morning, since tomorrow is race day, and it's a night race, tomorrow morning we will do the next guy on the playoff grid, which is currently Ryan Blaney, actually. So tomorrow morning will be Ryan Blaney, why he will win the 2021 championship. And then tomorrow night is Daytona, the cutoff race for the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Tomorrow we will know who makes the playoffs, assuming it doesn't rain at Daytona. It probably will.